Okay, so this is part 2 of week 11, Monday, semester 2 for geometry. So Grayson, you're going to take a look at this right here. And this is label the diagram with the correct terms from the word bank. So here are your word bank. Adjacent means angles that are next to each other. Like for example, if you take a look at angle A and angle B, these two are next to each other, okay? Because they both share one of the sides in between angle A and angle B. Linear pair is when you have an angle that like x and y, x plus y equals 180. Another way of saying this is also called straight angles, which means two angles create a straight line and they add up to 180 degrees. Vertical looks like this, okay? So let's say this is KM. So adjacent are like A and B, okay? Those are vertical angles. Linear pair is like X and Y. Vertical is like K and M. And these two are actually equal to each other. So these two angles are equal to each other. Supplementary is like X and Y. They add up to 180 degrees. So in a way, supplementary and linear pairs are the same thing. Complementary means that they add up to 90 degrees. So two angles, like A and B right here. Do you see how the two angles add up to 90 degrees? So A plus B equals 90 degrees, or a right angle. That's complementary. Perpendicular means you have two different lines. When they intersect, as in when they're crisscrossing each other, they create a 90-degree angle. So that's 90, which means the vertical angle here is 90, which means the linear pair is going to be 90, because if you take a look at this, they do create a line right here. And that also means that this angle right here is also 90 degrees, okay? So that is basically the word bank. Now that we've gone over these things, let's take a look. Angle 1 and 2, so here's angle 1 and angle 2, are blank angles. They are, I would say, they're adjacent angles because they're next to each other right here, okay? And we don't really know if they're 90 degrees because it doesn't specifically say that. So I'm just gonna assume it's adjacent. And it is I think we'll have to say that they are linear pair. Even though you can't assume that angle 1 and angle 2 are 90 degrees without actually showing that one of these angles is 90 degrees. You can't make that assumption, but it doesn't say that. But visually, if you look at it, it looks like it might be 90, but it could also be 91. So we don't know. Lines W and X. So W is this right here. And line X, which is this line right here. And again, you cannot assume that it is 90 degrees because it doesn't say that, but I'm assuming we're gonna have to assume that it is. So lines X and W are perpendicular. If they're perpendicular, then you can assume that there is a 90-degree in angle 3, angle 1, angle 2, and then 5 and 4 is also going to be 90 degrees, but we don't know that. So angles 4 and 5 are complementary. Are you done, Quentin? Are you done? No, go sit down. Complementary angles, which means they add up to 90 degrees. Hurry up. And 4 and 5 and are complementary angles, and they are 4 and 5 are complementary angle, and I guess you can say that they're adjacent. That's the only other word I can think of. The only reason for that is because they share this line right there, even though we've already used it, but I'm assuming you can use the term, well, it says use it only once. So 1 and 2. So I'm gonna go back to this right here. Since this one has to be adjacent, 1 and 2, the first part here, we're gonna change it. Angle 1 and 2 are we can say supplementary. Angles and a linear pair. So it's kind of like a play on word, kind of go back and forth because you first thought it was adjacent, and they are. 1 and 2 are adjacent angles, but since you can only use each term once, you need to go back and change it. It's kind of like a little puzzle to make sure that everything fits perfectly. Okay, 1 and 3. So here's 1 and angle 3. They're opposite of each other, so these are vertical angles. So vertical angles. All right. Next one, find each angle measure in the protractor to the right. So let's take a look at this. Angle BOC. So here is BOC. If you look at the protractor right here, you see how you start from 0 and it goes this way and it goes up? Or if your angle is over here, like where BOC is, because this is BOC, you could start with the 0 right here and you go this way. See how the angle goes from 10, 20, 30, 40, and it goes up? So it starts at 0 and it ends right there. So I would say that's between 50 and 60. So that's about 55 degrees. Next one is DOB. So D, O, B is going to be the angle that's going to be from here to here, okay? And once again, OB starts at 0, and so it's going this way, ending right here. So this is 100, or this is 110. So I would say that that's 110 degrees. Next one, DOE, or BOE. So starting at B, so BOE. So this angle starts at right here. BOE is right here. And notice once again that it starts right here and then it extends this way. So I would say that it ends at 140 and 150, but it looks like it's a little bit closer to 140. So maybe 143, because 145 is in the middle, but this looks a little bit closer to 40. Next one is DOC. So here is D, O, and C. Now this one is going to be a little bit trickier because you will have to start from here to here. Okay, and if you take a look at this, if I start from here to here, okay, going in this direction, it starts at, I think, 55, okay, and it goes this way to 110. So to find the difference in between 55 and 110, you will probably need to subtract them, which will then give you 55 degrees, okay? Last one, the measurement of the angle supplementary to BOE. So let's try to find that one. BOE. Supplementary means it creates a straight line, like that right there. If BOE is this piece right here, to make this a straight line, it will have to be this angle right here. So that is, actually I can't even see it because there's so many here. That would be, let's just go ahead and erase this. Okay. So here's BOE. The angle that's supplementary that creates a straight line is this blue angle right here, which is going to be EO. Oh, I guess it doesn't even have a point here, so it just wants you to have the angle right here. So this angle, it looks at BOE. BOE. So angle BOE is equal to 150 degrees. So this is 150 degrees. This angle, add up 150 equals 180. So that has to be 30 degrees. So this angle is 30 degrees. All right, and that concludes this part. Okay, so this is part 2, the second homework assignment for week 11, Monday, semester 2, quarter 4 on geometry. So this is a Kucha software worksheet. So it's either complementary, linear, vertical, or adjacent. So just going over this one more time, complementary means that you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So like angle A plus angle B equals 90 degrees. Linear pair means that two angles, x and y, for example, add up to 180. So angle x plus angle y equals 180 degrees, which is also supplementary. And it's also a linear pair. And it's also a straight angle. Okay, vertical angles looks like this. Like these two angles opposite of each other. If this is B and C, you can say angle B is congruent to angle C. And lastly, adjacent. Adjacent just means that it is two angles and they share a side. So for example, M and N, those two angles are adjacent because they share that line right there, or the side. So A and B, this one makes a straight line, so it should be linear pair. It is also adjacent, so you could put and, but make sure you put linear pair. 3 is adjacent, so that's good. 2 is adjacent. 4, if you take a look at A and B, if this right here is 90 degrees, that means this side is also 90 degrees. So A plus B equals 90 degrees, which is complementary. Okay, number 5, these two angles are opposite. Remember how I asked you to look for the X right here? There's that X, A and B is right there. Angle A is congruent to angle B. So this is not adjacent. Adjacent, they don't share anything. They don't share a size together. This is simply just vertical. 6, A and B are adjacent because they share this side together. 7, do you see how they make a straight line right there? So it's not necessarily adjacent. A better word is that they're a linear pair. A and B, they're opposite angles. You see how you have this X right here? And they're congruent. So angle A is equal to angle B. So these are not adjacent. These are complementary. Okay, number 9. It says find the measure for angle B. So what it's asking you is what is B equal to? This is 180 degrees. So 180 minus 50 is going to give you angle B, which is 130 degrees. And if you take a look at this angle, that looks correct because that's an obtuse angle. B and this angle, they are vertical, which means they're equal. So angle B is equal to angle 43 degrees, or should be equal to 43 degrees. 11. Okay. This part is 209, okay? I'm not sure if your teacher told us, but the entire circle is 360 degrees. So if you take 360 degrees minus 209 minus 96, that's going to give you angle B. So go ahead and subtract that. And that's going to give you a 55-degree angle, which looks correct because that angle right there looks like it's a cube, which means it's smaller than 90. For number 12, you see how this part right here is 90 degrees? So cross out the adjacent. If it's 90 degrees, you know it's complementary. So let's do 90 minus 63 degrees, which is going to give you angle B. And that angle is going to be 27 degrees. Or sorry, 17 degrees. There you go. No, 27, just kidding. Yeah, okay. All right, flip over to the back, please. If you take a look at the back, these questions becomes a little bit more challenging, mainly because now you're solving equations with it, which is a huge leap from what you started off with. can't see this well. I'm assuming this is 25 degrees. If it is 25 degrees, you see how this one is a straight angle? So you could put straight angle, supplementary, or linear pair. Okay, so 180 minus 25 degrees is going to give you a 155 degrees, and that is what angle B is. 14, I think this is 29 degrees. This is a right angle, so 90 degrees minus 29 is going to give you angle B. So in this case, this is going to give you a 61 degrees. 61 degrees. And that makes sense because 61 degrees is acute, and that looks smaller than 90. Just like for number 13, B is 155, which means it is obtuse, and this is acute. Okay. Number 15, the entire circle in this situation, like I said before, is 360. So you do 360 minus 243 minus, I think that says 94, I'm not 100% sure. That's going to give you angle B. So 360 minus 243 minus 94, angle B is 23 degrees, which makes sense because that is also acute, which means it's less than 90 degrees. 16, I think that says 49. Do you see how they create a straight line right here between the two different angles? So 49 degrees plus angle B equals 180 degrees. To get angle B by itself, you take 180 minus the 49, which is going to give you 131 degrees. And that makes sense because angle B look like it's obtuse. All right, next one, number 17. This angle is vertical. And how do you know that? Do you see the X right here? So if this angle is 90, angle B is also equal to 90 because they're equal. Just like this one here, you see the X. These are also vertical angles. So this angle is equal to this angle. So angle B equals 73 degrees. Number 19, this creates a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So you're going to say 93 plus 3x plus, I think that's 18, equals 180 degrees. Combine your like terms, which is going to give you 111. Plus 3x is going to equal 180 degrees. This is going back to solving equations. Subtract the 11 on both sides. Bring down the 3x. 180 minus 111 is going to give you 69 degrees. How do you get the 3 by itself, or x by itself? You divide it. So then the x cancel, or the 3 cancel. So x equals 23 degrees. And that is your answer. So here it says find the value of x. So you don't need to plug it in. So it's just saying, what does x equal to? Well, in this case, x equals 23. For number 20, if this angle is 296, remember the whole circle is 360 degrees, then this part that's left over, that's green right here, is 360 minus 296, which is going to give you 64 degrees. Okay, so this piece right here, the whole thing, both of these angles, is 64 degrees. So let's go ahead and add them. X, I think that's a minus 24 plus 29 equals 64 degrees. Combine your like terms. Negative 24 plus that is a 5 equals 64. Hold on, I think I need to check number 20 to make sure that's actually a plus or a minus. Okay, so we subtract the 5 on both sides. That part cancels. X is then equal to 59 degrees. So x equals 59 is your answer for number 20. Number 21. So this one's interesting because if you look at the x right here, notice how you have this angle and this angle. They're called vertical angles. And what you know about vertical angles is that they're equal to each other. So 2 plus 3x is equal to 62. Get rid of the 2 first. Bring down the 3x. Divided by 3. Cancel the 3, bring down the x equals 20 degrees. Okay, now if you actually want to know the degrees of each angle, you just simply plug in where x is, and you'll find out that 3 times 20 is 60. 60 plus 2 does indeed equal 62. If you look at it, they are equal. Last one. Number 22. First thing I notice is that I have a right angle right here, which means that's 90 degrees. Second thing I notice is that you see the straight line right here? So if that's 90, that means this angle right here, these two angles, those two angles are also equal to 90 degrees. So they are complementary. So complementary means that if I add these two angles together, they add up to 90 degrees. So 40 plus 5x plus 2 equals 90 degrees. Combine your like terms, gives you 42. Subtract 42 on both sides. This part cancels, bring down the 5x, which is then equal to 58. No, there is 48. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to subtract, or I'm sorry, divide by 5 on both sides. That part cancels. X is equal to 48 over 5, which is not great because it's not a perfect whole number. So then 4 times 1. Actually, no, 5, not 4. 5 times 9 is going to be a 45. Subtract gives me 3. So my answer is 9 and 3/5. And that is my answer. I just want to make sure that we did this correctly. So 48 divided by 5. Yeah, that is correct. And the way I know that is that when I plug this in right here, 5 times 9 and 3/5 plus 2 is going to give me a 50. 50 plus 40 is going to give me a 90. But that concludes it. This is your second worksheet for week 11, Monday. See you next time.